Chicken and waffles. Don't knock it until you tried it. It's a perfect blend of sweet and savory, great for brunch or really any time. So welcome to Cooking with Parker. Today I'm going to be showing you step by step how to make some great homemade fried chicken, a little bit of some waffles as well. We're going to top it with a bourbon buffalo maple syrup, and it's just going to be a great time. Let's go. I'm going to start with the chicken. Here's almost all the components I need for that. Decided against the egg wash, so that's why I had that crossed off. I decided to be a little bit extra and break down a whole chicken. Gotta bear with me. This is still my second time doing this, so it took me about 5 minutes. Went ahead and sped it up 10 times as fast, so this way you'll just see the process. But you just go around and you'll find each joint and cut through that with a deboning knife and kind of twist till it comes free. That'll end up giving you 8 pieces of chicken. Also did an extra step and cut off the back strap, but Gordon Ramsay does this in 1 minute blindfolded, so maybe with some more practice I'll get there at some point. It isn't that tricky, but you can always just buy a chicken pre-cut as well. So eventually I got my 8 pieces of chicken, 2 breasts, 2 wings, 2 thighs, and 2 legs. I'm gonna go ahead and fry all the dark meat in the wings. We're gonna save the breast for something else. Nice big old pieces. I don't need them for this recipe. I actually use them for a grilled chicken recipe, so come back and see that next week. I'm gonna go ahead and pour buttermilk over all our fried chicken. So just let that soak for at least 4 hours. You can go overnight if you want. That's what I ended up doing. And then we're gonna, as I said, we're gonna bag up our chicken breast, use that for a different recipe later on. Also gonna go ahead and bag up the bones, you can use that to make a nice stock. That's the nice thing about breaking down your own whole chicken. It's usually a little bit cheaper per pound and you got a lot of extra product you can use. Even comes with the giblets, I got some hearts, some liver. I'll find a use for that later on as well. When cooking, always clean as you go to the best of your ability. You want to make sure you get rid of all those chicken juices. You don't have to be worried about it. Just use some hot soapy water, sanitize it. Now we're going to go ahead and make our dredge. So we're using 2 cups of flour, 240 grams. You don't actually need to be as precise for this one, but just kind of getting the practice of weighing out my ingredients. Go ahead and season our chicken dredge using 10 herbs and spices. So just kind of what I went with. Wish I had KFC's 11 herbs and spices, but as you know, it's a close-cut secret. But kind of mix and match any of the spices you want. Just throwing in some chili powder, seasoned salt, onion powder, garlic powder, thyme, oregano, paprika, a dash of cayenne, and then finish with some cracked black pepper. Now I didn't measure these out, just kind of sprinkle it in as my heart felt, but try to estimate how much of each spice I use so I can put it in the description so y'all can follow, get similar spice level. Just whisk it all together. That's all done because
in the morning, I'm making waffles.
This is all the ingredients we're going to need. I decided not to use the vanilla extract, so cross that off again. Measuring out my flour or weighing it out to be a little bit more precise. So 2 cups of flour, that'll give you 240 grams. And then I'm going to do a 1/4 cup of sugar or 50 grams. So a little bit shy. See that, and go add a little bit more. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon or 14 grams of baking powder. I'm gonna finish with a little sprinkle of kosher salt and mix that together. There we have our dry ingredients. Now we're gonna do our wet ingredients. Add 1 stick of butter melted in the microwave, and then I'm gonna add 1 cup of buttermilk. So I'm sure you've heard of buttermilk pancakes. Also do buttermilk waffles, and they are delicious. Then we're gonna crack some eggs. So I wanna separate the whites from the yolks, and we're gonna whip up the egg whites. I also happen to have some double yolked eggs on hand, so it's gonna give some extra richness to the waffle batter. When you're separating egg yolks from your whites, you gotta make sure you get none of that yolk in there. So these farm fresh eggs, the yolks just happen to crack real easily. And I'll show you, and that's not gonna work for your egg whites. No matter how hard you try, it won't whip up properly. I tried it for like 5 minutes and couldn't get it to work. As you kind of see here, and so, Cooking with Parker, showing you all my steps and practices, good and the bad. I just heard the egg whites and yolks won't whip up, but put it to the test. Decided to save my eggs. You can make an egg white omelet later on or something like that. But grab myself a fresh egg from the fridge and separate the egg from the white from the yolk. Just pass it back and forth between the shell. You can skip this step. And, it's a little bit extra, but it'll give you kind of nice, help your waffle be really light and fluffy. Now that there's no yolks in my egg whites, they whip up really nice and easily. It takes about a minute, minute and a half. Just whip it till you get some stiff peaks. Now we're going to combine our wet ingredients with our dry ingredients. Pour that all in there. Whisk it up till it's all combined evenly. Make sure you go back and scrape out the bowl, waste not, want not, one of my mottos. gonna grab our egg whites, plop those in there. We wanna gently fold those in. We don't wanna deflate all the air. We just work so hard, you know, as you saw, to get into these egg whites. Now we got our batter. We're gonna go ahead and grab my Cuisinart waffle iron. Scoop about half a cup. For years I wanted waffle iron, got this one. You also use a Belgian waffle iron, but this does the job. It's a nice little tool to have. Close it up. When the light turns green, it's ready to go. Got kind of 5 different settings. This recipe makes about 4 to 5 waffles, just based on how big your waffle iron is, how full you fill it. So I leave them a little bit scant, give myself kind of an extra little 5th waffle. Get some nice crispy edges that way too. Make sure you always use a spatula to get all your batter. I'm going to go ahead and put these on a baking sheet, so once I fry the chicken, throw these back in the oven, get it nice and crispy again. And we're going to go ahead and make our bourbon buffalo maple syrup. So starting with 2 ounces of wild turkey Kentucky bourbon. Went a little heavy on my pour, but I'm a cook, not a bartender, so not too worried about that. And then about 4 to 5 ounces of pure maple syrup, just pouring that out of the bottle. And finally finish with 2 to 3 ounces of buffalo sauce. Sorry, my audio cut out for some reason while I was recording this, so you can't hear all the great sounds of the sauce coming together. But I promise this sauce is delicious. It sounded and smells great. So, you know, in cooking, nothing's ever truly new. Every recipe is just a combination and some alteration of a different recipe. So this recipe is kind of my own, but I got it from Marie Drummond, the pioneer woman. She was one of my first online cooking inspirations, so I wanted to give her some credit. It's also always good to go ahead and taste your food as you go along. So give it a try, make sure it's not too sweet or too spicy. Hit all the right notes, but I decided to mount it with some butter. And just adding a little bit of butter gives some extra viscosity, some flavor. Really a chef's trick to make a sauce look extra appealing. You just can't be worried about the extra calories you're giving someone. Go ahead and pour this off into a mason jar. That way I can save it and reheat it whenever I want for some delicious extra special syrup. Hopefully you enjoyed the video so far and watched up to this point. So now it's time for the fried chicken. We'll start with 2 quarts of peanut oil. Just put that in a pot. A tip I learned from my mom is when you're frying, especially fried chicken like this, it's helpful to do it outside. That way you're not going to smell it in your house. It's not going to set off the smoke alarm. Another trick is to save and reuse your oil. It'll actually help the chicken brown a little bit better. We've got the chicken that's sat in buttermilk overnight. Just get a nice toss. I'll put that directly in the dredge we made at the beginning. Just get it nice and coated. Really press it in there. You want to get full coverage of that flour dredge on your chicken. Buttermilk's going to help it adhere as well. Now, originally I thought I was going to do an egg wash for this as well, but decided I didn't even need that step. So I decided to be a little bit extra and go back and double batter my chicken. So since I had the extra buttermilk and flour dredge, didn't want to waste that. Just dip the chicken back in there, give it kind of a second coating, really going to help give a nice crisp crust to the fried chicken. But you don't have to take that extra measure if you don't want to. And bring your oil up to 350 degrees. So I got my induction burner. This thing is like magic. It's really just science, but it's gonna get that temperature almost exactly and then maintain it. It's really great for frying chicken. I'm just gonna drop the chicken in with my tongs. You can use your hand as well, just to avoid splashback. I'm gonna rotate it every once in a while, make sure it cooks evenly in that hot oil. I'm gonna fry these for about 5 to 6 minutes just so they get nice and golden brown. They won't be cooked all the way through. So I'm just going to put them back on the wire rack. We're going to finish it in the oven. That's why I'm not too worried about the cooked chicken being next to the raw chicken. I'm going to work in multiple batches like this. It'll help the oil maintain its temperature and the chicken won't stick to each other and knock any of that breading off. Just keep moving the chicken around. You know, it'd be nice to have a home fryer that also maintains the temperature, but just use the equipment that I got. So you don't need fancy things. You can even do this on the stovetop and just is a little bit messier. Went ahead and probed my chicken just to see what it was at. So it's about 140. So chicken needs to get to 160, 165 actually for food safety. We'll go ahead and pull all our chicken out, let the oil start cooling down. Once our peanut oil is fully cooled, we're going to go ahead and pour it off into containers through a fine mesh strainer so we can use this in the second time. Also have a potato in the bottom of the pot, you might notice there, that helps absorb some of the sediments and stuff. You can do this a couple times before I have to throw out your oil. As I said, we're going to pop our chicken in the oven at 350, give it about 10 minutes, just get the chicken fully cooked through without getting too dark in the fryer. We're going to at the same time pop our waffles in there, get them nice, warm, and crispy. Once it's cooked, I'm going to go ahead and plate myself up a serving. You know, this is a great recipe for a brunch for you and a few friends. I've got 6 pieces of chicken, 4 to 5 waffles. Plate plate it up with just dust it with a little bit of powdered sugar, make it look nice and pretty. Go ahead and put a pat of butter directly on top of the chicken, melt into that, just cover the whole thing. Then we're gonna drizzle some of our special syrup we made all over the top. Kind of gotta use a fork and knife for this to cut it up. Let's go ahead and get a bite. Man, it's money right there. The chicken's properly seasoned, beautifully fried, you know, finished in the oven. The waffles, light, airy, fluffy. Got that nice bourbon buffalo maple syrup on top. I'm telling you, never had chicken and waffles before, you gotta give this a try. Go back for another bite here. If you like this video, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.